Welcome to Real Talk Wrestling. I'm your host, Josh. With me is Chris. And if it looks a little different, it's because we don't have our good WWE ambassador slash e-drone slash buddy slash co-host Clutch. He is busy. Well, not busy. He's got things in the morning. And if you guys didn't know, he doesn't live in America. He does not live in the States. So he has to wake up early. So therefore, he cannot make it tonight to talk about the wonderful week of WWE and how it was. And I think he's telling a little fib. I'm gonna call him out. I don't know if he's watching. I don't know if he will watch. I think he's lying. I think he's lying. We told him. We gave him homework. You gotta watch AEW 250. I don't think he watched it. So I think he's calling in sick. I think he's pulling a Josh Kimmel classic at school. Like, oh, I didn't do the assignment. So like I'm not coming to school thinking that's gonna solve my problems. But it didn't. But I will tell you this. Pretty good week of wrestling. Pretty good week. I know you watch Raw, which we're going to get into. You watch at least 60% of Raw. I watched Raw. I did not watch Dynamite, but I did watch 50% of Dynamite. Because I got some gripes on TBS right now. And I'm not happy with the Superstation.
You at least watched the important part of last night's episode.
I did. I also watched more episodes of Friends today than I've ever seen in my life. And God, sorry, Bobby, what a fucking terrible show. What are we doing here?
Why were you watching Friends today?
Because my TV has been on TVS all day. And every hour I go on demand to see if they've loaded episode 29 of AEW.
Okay.
And I'm not going to change it. But then I felt bad going, oh, I'm giving Friends ratings. This is one of the worst television shows I've ever seen in my life. Oh my God. But we're not here to talk about that. They play some Big Bang Theory and Friends. Like they play some, and it goes from Friends to Big Bang Theory, guys.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
What a horrible block. People that watch that block need to be done with, gone, shipped away somewhere else because that's the lowest of low of television. But anyway, you know it's not the lowest of low? Raw, SmackDown, and even Dynamite this week. Well, at least with what I saw.
Yeah, the ratings are. I think I saw the ratings went up this week. You know, it's been a couple weeks. Britt Baker's been back, and the ratings have been up ever since.
It's not Britt Baker. It's not Britt.
It's just a weird coincidence. That's all.
Yeah, MJF is back. That's why the ratings are up. It has nothing to do with Britt. But hey, I'm happy to see Britt back on television. I'm not going to lie about that. She's been phenomenal since her return. But let's get into WWE first because I know you watched it and it did happen on Monday. And you tweeted, which I don't go on Twitter anymore, but if you tag me, I will log on and I will see your tweet, but I will not interact because I'm boycotting. But I will say you were brave enough to watch the entire show, well, as much as you could, up until 9:45.
Yep.
Did you miss the Bo Dallas spot with Chad Gable? You missed it. Did you get to rewatch it?
No, I saw images. I didn't get to rewatch it though. I see that I did miss out on some good stuff in the third hour. The second half of the second hour was kind of dragging a little bit, which is, I think, kind of what helped put me to sleep. Now I'm an old man now. It's hard for me to stay up past 10 o'clock and stay focused and paying attention on a TV show past that time during the week, especially on a Monday. But Raw, you know, I did my homework, right? I did my homework. I watched some Raw. I didn't get to watch NXT, so I didn't do the extra credit there. But, I mean, it was the first time I've really sat down and watched Raw, I think, in the Triple H era. That I've, like, really watched it and given it my full attention. And it just feels like it's 1,000 times more watchable than it was in the Vince era between, you know, just opening the show with Rhea, right? The camera angle, you know, following her through the backstage. Like, it's just got a whole different feel to it. It's so much better now. It's something I can actually see myself putting in the time watching it more often than just the Raw after WrestleMania, as I have done for the last few years. You know, and speaking of Rhea, everything that they're doing with her, that's all great storytelling. I think this is one of those stories that we'll remember for years to come. But yeah, I did miss some stuff. I think they went back and touched on some stuff in the 10 o'clock hour on that story that I missed. I do like Carlito. You guys had mentioned Carlito is mixed in now, so I got to see that for the first time. It's just little quick one-liners, hilarious. It's all that it needs. Just that little. So overall, Raw is so much better now. It's finally enjoyable again for the first time, and I don't remember since we were kids.
Since we were kids, and it makes me think, like, was it ever good? Because we were kids and we're stupid. Kids are stupid. So, like, was it ever good to begin with?
You know, I went back and watched when I was introducing my wife into wrestling. And I was like, oh, we got to go watch a few classic episodes. There's like pay-per-views or certain matches you have to watch. And after we watched the important matches and pay-per-views, then we got into some episodes of Raw and SmackDown. And I'm like, I don't think it's as good as we remember it being. And part of it was because we were younger, you know. They would do a lot of the same stuff. There was a lot of 2-minute matches back then. I didn't realize that. We complain about that in current times. The end of the Vince era, we had a lot of 2-minute matches. And even back then, watching through an episode of wrestling, I'm like, there's really not much wrestling in this show. I always thought there was more, but there really isn't. And now we're getting great stories and great wrestling to go with it. So Triple H is doing, I think, everything that we all expected him to do, which is make a really, really good wrestling show.
Now, guys, if you're all watching for the first time, we're mainly an AEW show. We did bring on Clutch as a WWE guy because I do watch the WWE. I actually watched it during the Vince era at the very end. And it was awful. It was unwatchable, but I still powered through some of the episodes. It's gotten tremendously better. Unbelievable. We all know that. It's old news. Chris, he's just being introduced to it. He was resentful. He didn't want to do it. Too much homework. Plus, he had 2 hours of wrestling. We get 2 hours of wrestling on Wednesday nights. How much wrestling do you want to consume on your life? Because you have Monday Night Raw, Tuesday night NXT, Wednesday night AEW Dynamite, Thursday night nothing. Us.
Yep, that's
you get an hour of us.
Last night. Yep.
And then Friday you get SmackDown, and then it recycles.
And that's then Collision on Saturday when it was good for a little bit.
And Collision on Saturday, yes, and then pay-per-views on Sundays. On sometimes, at least once a month. So therefore, like, that's a lot of time to be putting into wrestling. I tell people this all the time. And I love football. You love football. We are sports guys. We are into football. Yeah. I mean, the reason why I don't watch Dynamite live is because I host a fantasy football podcast on Wednesday nights at 8:00. And I'm sorry, like, I'd rather host a show than watch a wrestling show. But I do always catch up, except for today because TBS is a piece of shit. Like, they know everyone wanted to watch the match. Like, is that what happened? Hey, we don't want rating. Are they trying to fail again all over like they did WCW? We don't want good ratings. We don't want people watching on demand, so we're not going to load it up. Like,
they want you watching live. They want those live numbers to go up.
Yeah, I'm sure they do, and I get it. What was I saying? Oh, football. Back to football. When it comes back, and you get that Thursday night game, you're excited. Let's go, Thursday night game. Then you roll into the weekend, you get that Sunday night game or Sunday game, then that Sunday night game. Then you get Monday, and you're like, okay, that's fine. Okay, that was a little bit too much, but it's fine. Then it's every week. It's Thursday, and then it's Sunday, then it's Sunday night, then it's Monday. And then you go on to the season. It's like, oh, wait, now we have Thursday, and then we have Friday, Christmas Eve, and then we got Saturday games, then we got Sunday games, then we got Monday games. It's like, come on, even too much of one good thing. So I find myself hyped up at the beginning of the NFL season. Can't miss a Thursday night game. Can't miss it. Doesn't matter if it's the Browns versus the Saints. Can't miss it. And then around week 9, week 7, that in the middle of the season, I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah, you start being a little pickier. You pick and choose your games that you're going to watch.
But that's the NFL, and it's only 6 months of the year. This is professional wrestling, and it's
nonstop for 30 years.
So you have exactly. So you have to put on a good product for me to want to watch every single week. And I'm not gonna lie, that's why I've been slacking on Dynamite, because I don't feel the need to watch Dynamite. I feel like they are the new WWE, where I can just go on YouTube and find the good stuff and filter out 90% of the bad stuff. And there's been a lot of bad stuff on Dynamite and Collision and Rampage.
There has been, up until very recently. It's gotten better recently.
Yeah, but their main story, which we're going to get to, this is the WWE portion. The main portion, the main story has been a huge flop. And we'll talk about that later. But back to Raw, I'm surprised you didn't catch the Chad Gable and Bo Dallas moment. It was probably the best thing I saw all week. And yes, I did watch MJF versus Will Ospreay. But I do believe that this moment where Chad Gable comes out, he tells everyone he figured it out. He knows who the identity of of Uncle Howdy is. Like he was so impressed with himself that he figured it out all by himself. But everyone already knew. Even Adam Pearce knew. Everyone knew because we saw Bo Dallas in his office last week. He calls out Bo Dallas. Bo comes out with no music and street clothes. So I loved that. Yes, we're going to see Bo Dallas on TV, not this goofy mask Uncle Howdy, although they're doing it pretty good. I like Uncle Howdy. I like how they're presenting him.
Mm-hmm.
So this tells me we're going to see Bo Dallas as a wrestler, not Uncle Howdy as a wrestler. That's awesome. That's what I wanted. Gets beat up by the Creeds. They jump him. He's laughing like Bray used to do, like any psychopath would do. And he gets in his face, or Chad Gable gets in Bo's face, and Bo's like, "There you are." Same thing Uncle Howdy said to Bo, basically saying, "I'm bringing out the evil in you. I'm bringing out the bad in you." Then, of course, the Wyatt Six come out. Gable and the Creeds flee. Boom! He gets on his knees like Bray used to do, and they all surrounded him. It was such a great moment. He's pulling this role off better than I've ever imagined, ever. Like I did not think Bo had this in him. Now you, Chris, you're a huge Bray Wyatt fanatic. You think he's one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. And I want to know how you think Bo's doing.
From what I've seen so far, I think they're doing really well, kind of picking up where some things had left off and adding to the existing story was there. I mean, and to kind of emphasize what you were saying, I do think they're doing it the right way. One of the spots where they messed up with Bray was there was too much. They were doing too much, especially with the supernatural stuff, to the point where it was getting, just unbelievable. It was kind of like, what am I watching now? This isn't. I don't know. Maybe if I was a kid, this would be kind of like, whoa, cool. What is he shooting lightning or whatever? But no, don't go into that area. Stay like with the creepy side, and that's so far what they've done. I hope that they've got that from listening to feedback from people. You don't want to let the wrestling fans dictate the show too much, but I do think you should always kind of listen a little bit to kind of help steer the show in a direction that's going to bring in the viewers. And I think they've done just that.
No, they have. And it's been phenomenal. Even with the Rhea Ripley and the Liv Morgan stuff, we wanted something more edgy and we wanted something more adult. They listen. Liv Morgan is doing the best work of her life. Bo Dallas is doing the best work of his life. Drew McIntyre is doing the best work of his life. It's just so many people peaking right now. Don't watch SmackDown though. You'll see the worst work of Cody Rhodes' life. You'll see it. Don't do it, Chris. Nobody. All you people watching right now, live on this Wednesday night or Thursday night, it's Thursday.
Thursday.
Wow, Thursday. If it's Thursday night and you're watching, or anytime, if you're watching next week, if you're watching anytime, do not go watch SmackDown because Cody Rhodes is an embarrassment. It's awful. It is, oh my God, mind-blowing bad. That guy needs to turn heel. Take me. He's getting beat up. Randy Orton getting beat up and he's being held by like the bloodline. He's like, take me instead. You don't want him. He's getting held like this. Take me instead. Like, dude, you're a grown man. Shut up. No. Like, he's not beating up Randy. He's not beating up your kid. He's beating up Randy Orton. He's good. He's fine. Randy Orton's been done a lot worse too, right? Come on.
Yeah. He'll be all right.
Be fine. All right. That's our WWE portion of the show because we are going to go AEW heavy. So if you're not an AEW fan, sorry about your luck because we had a phenomenal match. We hear this all the time, especially on the AEW side, where that was the best television match in AEW history. We've heard it with Hangman Page and Adam Cole. We heard it with Bryan Danielson and Kenny Omega. We heard it with the tag teams, FTR and Bullet Club Gold, or Bang Bang Gang, whatever you want to call them. We hear it all the time. It is becoming a trend where once every 6 months or so, they'll put on a 60-minute banger on free TV. And there's no complaints from me at all. I called it last week, and I was wrong. I can admit when I'm wrong. I'm right about a lot of things. I'm right about Seth Rollins cashing in, making a triple threat match. I'm right about I called that. No, but I was wrong about this. I thought it was going to be a 60-minute draw. You texted me at 9:15. We were just wrapping up OUS last night because Justin hosted and he freaking drug on. Justin, if you're watching, this is how you host the show. Okay, keep it moving. I kid. But he went forever. So I didn't get to see the match. Well, 1 second of it. That's fine. You text me at 9:15, 9:12. Hey, man, you got to watch this match. I was like, oh, cool. 60-minute draw. Thanks, Chris. I was so mad at you. I'm not mad at you, but I was just like, I knew it was going to be like a 60-minute draw.
I was trying to wait. I was trying not to text you right at 9 to give away that it was an hour match.
Mm-hmm.
So I was trying to wait a little bit, just saying, watch the match.
Well, I watched. So
I think we all knew that it was going to be 60 minutes, though. Like,
yeah,
we knew that part.
I looked at the card and I saw, okay, Mercedes versus Nyla Rose, that hot matchup, that grudge match. I couldn't wait to see that. I saw Swerve and Okada. At least that makes sense. And then I saw MJF and Ospreay, which we already knew about. I'm like, okay, are they gonna have special matches? Is someone gonna come back? Because they're AEW 250. Is there gonna be a special comeback? Is Ricochet gonna debut? Whatever the case may be, I don't know. So maybe they're just not plugging everything because they have some special things going on.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna lie to everyone. I did not watch the full show. I watched the full match because I found it on YouTube. But like I said in the front, or maybe I didn't say in the front, I didn't DVR the show, and TBS didn't put it on demand yet. So I had to get desperate and search up some bootleg YouTube, but it was in high quality, so we're all good to go. What a match. What a match. But is it the best match you've ever seen on AEW television?
It's hard to say because I feel like there's a lot of them. You could make an argument for several. I mean, you just named a bunch of them, and it's like 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D. I mean, you could take your pick. It was really good. One of the things I thought they did really well, I didn't think they had too many like low spots. Like sometimes in these long matches, you have extended periods of both guys just laying on the ground and everything. Mm-hmm. Like I was watching for that, and you're going to have it sometime. They got to rest at some point when you're wrestling for an hour. But like sometimes it's like 30 seconds, a minute, whatever. But sometimes in these matches, they'll lay on the ground for like 3, 4, 5 minutes. It feels like you're like, all right, come on. Now this is just like, why even schedule it this long if you're going to have these big chunks of nothing going on? But I thought the match was really good. It offered a lot. I think it once again showcased just how good MJF is all around. Because I feel like a lot of people, when they think of MJF, they think of just a guy that's just really good on the microphone. But he's so much more than that. He's like a good all-around wrestler. In the ring, on the mic, wherever. And then we know Ospreay is Will Ospreay. It's always good to get to, see an hour of him. So, I don't know. Best match, if it's not the best, it's right there with it. Right at the top.
You're going to be surprised. I had problems with the end. Like the last 3 minutes of the end. So I don't want to be nitpicky because it was a phenomenal match. I don't think we needed the table spot with the elbow drop from the top rope. I didn't think we needed that, but it was cool to see. It's always cool to see MJF do that. He does it almost in every big match. So I get it. It's one of his spots.
Yep.
So I get it. They didn't need to do the Spanish fly that botched, but I get it. It seemed in the very end, the very, very end, when he had him in the Tiger Driver and he had him up, and Tony Schiavone's like, do it. And then he's banned this move from his repertoire, and he's like thinking about it. I'm like, who the F is the heel? Who's the heel? He's using a move that could paralyze this guy. So therefore, I understand if Will Ospreay is toting the line of being a heel or maybe whatever, and MJF's like a major baby face. But that part I didn't really like because him using that move, there's special moves that you use when you're a heel and when you're a babyface, right? It's in wrestling history. When Roman Reigns went from a babyface to a heel, he started using the guillotine and other heel moves. Mm-hmm. He got rid of the Superman punch and all that stuff. Not everyone does it, but most people do. So when you're turned into a full-fledged babyface, you shouldn't even tease to try to paralyze someone. Babyfaces don't do that. And I hate that he still teases it. And I hate that Tony Schiavone, a babyface commentator, do it. No, you should be like, don't do it, Will. It's not worth it. Right? play him up as a massive baby face, like you're a good guy, you have a good heart, you shouldn't be doing this. But that's just a little bit of nitpicking on my end. Because I will say, I went on Twitter for like 5 seconds today, and the first thing I saw was that match was incredible. I forgot who the source was. I don't know who tweet. I don't even know who tweeted out. Great match, phenomenal match, whatever. But man, the commentary really needs to shut up because they've ruined it, and it's true.
I heard a
It's
couple
freaking
people say
true.
that.
God, they suck. Tony Schiavone adds nothing. Excalibur is a freaking clown, and Taz is just sitting there getting a paycheck. I love Taz. I think Taz is the only person with credibility on that commentary booth. But let's go back to the match. I loved it that MJF worked as a heel. It wasn't just spot, Hurricane Rana, Tombstone. He was doing things, grabbing the rope when he had the abdominal stretch on. He ended the match with, of course, his ring, like he always does when he's a heel. You knew who the babyface was. You knew who the heel was. It wasn't just a Ricochet versus Ospreay. We're going to do a bunch of flips. That's what I really enjoyed about this match is I knew who to root for. I was rooting for MJF because I wanted him to win, but I thought it was going to be a draw the whole time. I'm sitting there thinking like, okay, what are they going to do? How are they going to figure who's going to cause this draw? Whatever. When he got the 1, 2, 3, I was amazed. I was completely shocked. How would you feel?
Yeah, I was surprised too because I thought that they were going to go for the draw. Especially, I was keeping an eye on the clock, and once we got past the 30-minute mark, I was like, okay, we're going the hour, just like Josh said. And I was thinking, here we go, another time limit draw. And maybe that's part of why they did it is because we've all come to expect that on the 60-minute matches, is that they're just going to end in a draw. They're going to be a really great match, but there's not going to be a real ending to it. And they've done that enough times before. So I was glad that they decided to take it into a different direction and actually have a winner for the match. I wasn't sure who was going to win, but I was starting to think to myself, it might actually be MJF just for the reason of getting the belt off of Ospreay, because is he now going to, this is his move from mid card to main title right now. Mm-hmm. And so I started to think, could MJF actually pull this off tonight? Because I don't know if they're going to give Ospreay 2 belts. Giving MJF a belt is always a good idea. He can do a lot with it. He can make that thing more relevant because it's pretty irrelevant, right? Like, I think Pac got it in the beginning. It was kind of exciting, and then that was it. Like, I don't really know any of the stories associated with that belt, right? So I was real happy with the ending. I thought it was great for him to pull out the win there with 2 seconds to go.
But Ospreay doesn't get a title match. He's back of the line. Bryan Danielson's wrestling Swerve for that title. So that just, I have the question of where does this lead? Does this lead to a triple threat match with Danny Garcia for that championship at All In? Because we got to think, they got to put the biggest matches they could possibly do at All In for Wembley. Yep. They have to. Mm-hmm. And Danny Garcia is involved in this feud. He's involved in this program.
Oh, of course, you saw it throughout the match.
So my question is, how do we input Danny Garcia back in? Does changing the title, like, because you just said, oh, we elevated Will Ospreay to the main event. Well, does that mean we delegated MJF to the mid card because he has a mid card title now? I think this is a vehicle to get Daniel Garcia over as a real main mid-carder, like a real mainstay. Maybe he walks away with that title somehow at All In. That's what I'm thinking. Because why else would he brutally beat down Daniel Garcia, win the title, and tease a match going, I'm giving you a match at All In, Danny Garcia. And then Will Ospreay saying, well, I'll do something better. I'll give you a match. So they both offered him a match. I think this is going to end up being a triple threat match at All In.
Yeah. I could definitely see it going that way. And again, with all the references that they had to Daniel Garcia throughout the wrestling match last night, I could definitely see it going that way. And maybe that's what they're going to do. That would be awesome. I really would like that if they use this as a platform to kind of right some wrongs with Daniel Garcia. This would be the best way to fix that. Put him in the ring with those two on that stage, and they have the next superstar in waiting right there. And this is be the best way, I think, to really put him over.
I don't know about you, Chris, but I'm just thinking long term. Would it be more long term beneficial if it was just MJF versus Danny Garcia 1-on-1 for the title? Because I'll be completely honest with you and the audience here. About halfway through the match, not even 20 minutes into the match, I forgot this was a title match. I forgot that they were wrestling for a belt. I forgot that the belt was even on the line. I forgot Will Ospreay had a belt. I was so engulfed in the match. That belt is so far below these two. It's unreal. This should have been for the AEW World Championship or a title shot for the AEW World Championship, not for some Orange Cassidy second hand me down Intercontinental title.
No.
Maybe they are trying to elevate the belt. Maybe they're trying to make it important because I'm sitting here watching Raw and I'm going, man, Gunther made that title so important. Sami Zayn feels so important. Braun Breaker feels so important. And they're all going for that Intercontinental Championship.
Yep.
And then I go look at the International Championship. I'm like, okay, Pac's cool, but he's not Sami Zayn. Orange Cassidy is Orange Cassidy. And I don't know who else held that title. I couldn't even tell you one other person held that title. Will Ospreay. Who else? Who did Will beat? I don't remember.
No.
I literally don't remember who he beat.
That's the thing. Like, I think it's a good looking title. And it's just like their secondary title. It's like, I don't even know which one you would call the number 2 title in AEW for the singles. Just because like it was TNT for a bit when Christian had it. And now I don't know, like I don't know much that's going on with that title as much. It kind of seems like it went down. So they need a secondary title. And maybe they look at the Intercontinental title, and this is like their equivalent being the international title. And they want to have a belt where people can go towards, because like you said, someone going for the Intercontinental title in WWE doesn't seem like a huge, like a bad thing or a huge step down. Like it's obviously, your WWE title's here, but like the gap doesn't seem nearly as big as it does in AEW right now. And they need to close that gap, and they need a very relevant secondary title.
Yeah.
And maybe having these guys wrestle for it is what's going to make it feel more important. I know they normally say that, oh, it's not really about the belts and where they're at. It's about the wrestlers. But I feel like, it kind of goes both ways. Every once in a while, you need someone to kind of lift the belt up to make it feel more important. So when the next guy gets it, he feels more important. And maybe that's what they're going to do now.
And on the women's side of AEW, I felt at least the TBS title was more important than the AEW women's title. Ever since Mercedes came along, because they really focused on her. Hold on, I'm gonna get. Hold on, Chris. But I turned it around after last week when Mariah May did their attack.
Okay.
Like it now it feels important. I'm not gonna jive talk you. You probably know this already. I'm so over Toni Storm in that gimmick. I think it's awful. I think it's overplayed, and it makes me turn the channel. And when Mariah May did that, I'm like, okay, I'm back in because now it's good. It was awful before, and now it's
coming to a close.
Well, honestly, like it was fine at the beginning. It was fine. It was entertaining, but it went too long. I think that story went way too long, and I got tired of it. And especially when Toni Storm's, I can't remember. People in the chat, people listening will probably kill me, but I can't remember one memorable title defense Toni Storm had. I can't remember one or feud, but I'll remember Mercedes and Willow because that was good. Even though you hate on Mercedes and everyone else does, that's fine. But that feud was actually good. And now the Britt Baker thing, let's be honest. Britt Baker and Sasha, or Mercedes, as people know her now, are overshadowing everyone in the women's division on that side. They are. If you tell me, if you take a group of people and you put the Mercedes segment from their YouTube clip and their Toni Storm segment from this week, people are going to watch Mercedes and Britt 100 times out of 100. In my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong. What are you going to watch, Chris?
I would be watching. See, here's the thing, though, and this is where I give you grief and whatever. But I think a lot of that has to do with Britt Baker again, because let's take Britt Baker out and let's plug Willow back in. And now you're going to say Mercedes and Willow or Toni Storm over on the other side. Who's going to go? Everyone's going to go watch the Toni Storm stuff first. But it's bringing Britt Baker in because I think she really elevates it, because for the longest time, she was the face of the women's division. Like when it was at its peak, it was with Britt Baker, right? Mm-hmm. And then there was all this talk back then when Sasha left WWE. Oh, what if she were to come over? And man, we would love to see now Mercedes and Britt. We want to see that. That would be like a dream match, and it's happening. So of course it's gonna get a lot of views on it. Absolutely.
It's
But I
so
think it's because
funny.
of both of them. It has a lot to do with both of them.
I know, but it's so funny. You have the two biggest stars of the women division, whether you like it or not. Mercedes and Tony Storm, Mercedes and Britt Baker are the two biggest stars they have, and they have the secondary title. And arguably the two biggest names they have right now on the men's side are wrestling for a secondary title. It's just wild. It's just
Yeah.
crazy. Just imagine a world where CM Punk and Drew McIntyre are wrestling for the Intercontinental title.
Yeah.
That's just crazy to me. Like Randy Orton versus LA Knight for the Intercontinental title. Like what are you? Why? Like they're main, they're top dogs. So it's just weird to see. But that just tells you like it's not about the title; it's about the talent. And honestly, in AEW, they treat their titles like props. They're not really important. I don't feel like any of those titles are important. Not even the World Championship anymore. I don't feel is important.
They got too many. They pulled the WWE and they started adding in way too many titles. I think you should have a tag team title with the Freebird rule, your world title, a mid card title, and your women's title. What more do you need than that?
So you
And
got
they also need to
world.
trim down the roster a little bit too, because that was the other mistake they made. I think that's why they made more titles, because they needed more, because the roster got too bloated when Tony was signing everyone, left, right, and center, everyone that was coming along.
Well, some of the people that are hired there are the friends of the EVPs, and you can't get rid of those guys because they're friends of. Like, let's think about it realistically. You look at the roster, and if you had to make cuts, if you had to make real cuts, I'm sorry, Jungle Boy would be on that list to be cut. Like he would, and I mean he's
Who?
doing
There is no Jungle Boy.
exactly. Like he'd be on that list, but he's got a made man. He's made because he's friends with the EVPs in real life. And there's a
Yeah.
lot of guys like that are friends with them in real life, and therefore they'll always have a job. There are a lot of people that like Nyla Rose. Like we didn't even get into Nyla Rose and Mercedes because why did this happen? What was the purpose? There's no we're just putting matches together for no reason. We haven't seen Nyla Rose on TV in over a year, longer than Britt Baker, and all of a sudden she comes back and we're gonna think she's a threat to
Yeah.
Mercedes. Like people like her, just cut. Right? You have a bloated roster.
I'm just looking at the roster. Aaron Solo, you can cut. Action Andretti,
Cut.
got to keep Adam Cole. Got to keep Adam Copeland, Adam Page. The Dark Order team now at this point,
Cut.
I think they're done. Angelico, whatever.
Who's that? Cut.
The H2, whatever, the guys that were coming out like the neon green and yellow stuff forever ago.
Cut. Haven't seen them in years. Cut.
Angelo Parker.
Cut.
Anthony Ogogo.
Who?
You remember him? Whenever he had that big, I'm not going to sit here and go through it all, but I mean, look, I just went through like the first 12 people, and you just found 8 that you could cut.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Because we haven't seen those people on television in 8 years.
Yeah,
like it's been a year. Like I'll say this. Tony likes, so the reason why I don't watch Collision, the main reason why I don't even bother even going back is because we have matches where you don't know who half the talent are. And I understand Tony is a fanboy and he loves professional wrestling. He loves his indie talent. But you put these people on television, on national television, and he thinks you're doing that wrestler a favor, which you are. You're doing them a favor for giving them 10 minutes of exposure on television. But meanwhile, the average Joe, Josh Kimmel, or Chris Coffer is going to look at Cartwheel Jones or whoever that guy was and go,
Cartwheel Jones.
You know who I'm talking about?
No, but I love the name Cartwheel Jones. It's our new wrestler, generic wrestler.
Or Action Andretti. Or seriously, or Action Andretti. Or Brian Keith. Or any of these other jobbers you can think of. Even, I'm sorry, Daddy Magic, for example. What are we doing watching a Daddy Magic match on Collision? What's the purpose of that match? Just to have a match? Yeah. If we wanted to watch just to have a match, we go watch PWG or something that has no stories, that are nothing. Just a match. We watch television. We watch television for story and entertainment. It's a TV show. I don't turn on Max and go, let me rewatch this Jon Snow versus the Hound fight with no context. No, I need the story leading up to it and the story what happens afterwards.
Yeah.
And that's what Collision is. It's just a bunch of thrown together shit. Now we're just rambling about how bad Collision is. There's at the end of the or the end of Dynamite. We'll get to real quick. This is the last thing of the night because Chris said, and Chris, you never say this. You never say I got a lot to say about this. I'm like, all right, let's go.
Well, did I say a lot, or I say I just got some thoughts?
No, thoughts. That's even worse. When you say I got some thoughts on something, I know it's going to be bad. So let's let the babyface turn heel. Let's talk about the main event of Dynamite. We had Okada and Swerve, and what happened afterwards. So, Chris, I didn't watch it.
Nope.
I'm playing. You're peeking through the sheet. I didn't watch it. What happened? Tell me what's going on.
So I was watching the match, and like you said before we started the show, or maybe it was at the beginning of the show, it was going to be really hard for any match to follow up that opener. Any other match that was on the card, which there was only 3, it was going to be near impossible to follow that. But I was like, okay, we have Swerve, we have Okada. Hopefully they can put something together that's somewhat memorable. It might almost be brought down a little bit because of the other match being there. I was just watching that match, and I thought it was all right as I was going through watching it. But I also knew, I'm like, this match is starting, like they're starting to come out at 9:50 at night. I'm like, so something's going on with this match for it to start at 9:50. Because if we were getting a real Swerve and Okada match, they'd be coming out at 9:40.
9:30.
Maybe, yeah, but like 9:40 at the latest.
Mm-hmm.
Like they'd be coming out and they would be getting their match underway between 9:40, 9:45 at the latest. If it was, so I was already like, okay, what's going on? I'm like, I'm sure there'll be a little run over, a little 10:05 run over or something. But we're just getting things kicked off, and it's 9:50. So I already was like, something feels off. They're going through the match, and it just felt like, okay, they're good, but obviously nowhere near the level of the first match. And then we finally get to around 10 o'clock or shortly after. And sure enough, we get the Josh Kimmel special. They just start bringing, it eventually leads to everybody coming out from the back. And I was like, what's even happening? And this had a little bit to do with some of the promos they had cut earlier in the night. But basically, this match, the only reason it was on the card was not to give us a good match, but it was to try to, at the last minute, put together a little build for next week's show, Blood and Guts. Like, that's been, I feel like they've always made a big deal about Blood and Guts. They've tried to make it one of their big Dynamite episodes every year. And we didn't even know who all the people were until last night. So here's where I was saying I got thoughts, and this is my thought, is this reminds me and gives me the comparison and what we were talking about last week of when WWE does a Hell in a Cell match just because it's that time of year. Oh, we're getting to this. Got to do Hell in a Cell. We got to run the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. We're just going to throw 2 people in there. That's what this Blood and Guts feels like to me. It's that time of the year. Time to put on a Blood and Guts match. What are we going to do? Oh, we're going to do Team Elite versus Team AEW. But like, looking at Team AEW, do they really have any sort of a rivalry with Team Elite that would merit them doing a Blood and Guts cage match? Not even close. Like, they weren't even a team yet until last night.
What are they fighting for?
I don't know. Just AEW versus.
Let me think about this logically.
I don't know.
All you marks out there, and there's a lot of you. I got this question for you. The Elite, Jack Perry pinned Bryan Danielson in the Anarchy in the Arena match on their last Team AEW versus Team Elite match, correct? So the heels won clean. I mean, clean because it was whatever, but there was no like special person coming out. There was no surprise. It was just a 1, 2, 3. They won. Okay. End of story because they won.
No.
Now, what did they win? Did they win control of the company? Tony Khan's still in the back. Christopher Daniels, is he still around?
Yep.
I don't know. I haven't seen Christopher Daniels. I'm sure was he there last night? I'm sure he was. So
I don't know if he
what's
was there. I don't know if we saw
so
him.
so what's the stipulation? What are they fighting for? What is Swerve and Team AEW protecting? Tony Khan's in the back still. He's cool. He's chill.
Yep.
He's fine. He's making matches. What are the elite? What are they doing? What is their goal? I don't know what anything is. What is happening? I don't know why the Young Bucks are mad at Tony Khan. I don't know why. I still don't know why. Maybe they kind of alluded to, oh, you suspended our friend Jack Perry or something of that man. Who knows?
Yeah.
And then the TA that Swerve. He's not being threatened by these guys. These guys, to me, these guys are Dwight, as in they're assistants to Tony Khan. They're assistant to the Booker. And like they can just go above them and go, okay, Tony's here. Like, we'll just go talk to Tony. He's right there. Or Christopher Daniels there. Like, we're good. There's no threat of any. Now, if there was something of the fact of like, hey, when we take AEW over, because that's what we're doing, we're taking your title, Swerve, and we're going to put it on Okada, whatever it may be. But there's none of that. And there's no real anger. There's no real blood issue. There's no real nothing. Nothing.
Do you even know who all is on Team AEW?
So, no, I don't, but let me guess. There's 5?
So there's 5. 5 and 5. And you already know the elite team.
So Swerve.
Yep.
Max Caster and Anthony Bowens.
Yep.
And then I'm going to guess, because they need 2 more.
Yep.
So Darby was in the last one. He's probably still recovering, so he probably didn't make a return. And guys, I don't know anything. I didn't watch a damn highlight. I want to think like FTR was involved in the last one, and they needed 2, so it could be FTR.
Do you want to hint?
Yeah.
Okay, the 2 remaining people have nothing to do with one another.
But they're just 2 random.
As in, they're not a tag team. It's not a tag team.
They're just 2 random baby faces.
2 random baby faces.
All right, let me see some baby faces in AEW right now because they don't have a lot. Do they have to do with anything with the elite? Is it like, hold on, I'm gonna do the most random. Is it Penta? And like, so it's gonna be like probably Penta coming out, and so it's not like Pac or Ray Phoenix because they're involved with each other, they're friendly, and like Eddie Kingston. Did he make a comeback? Did we see Eddie Kingston again? No, he's out for a while. He broke his leg in half. And Eddie Kingston would make too much sense.
Yeah.
Wheeler Yuta. So,
Wheeler Yuta, and who was the other one you said?
Penta, yeah.
No.
I mean, I'm just thinking, what would the Sickos want?
The Sickos are getting Briscoe.
That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, a little bit. And we did get a return last night.
Oh.
Darby did make his return last night.
Oh, freak! I should have.
He did it in such a way, like, because his music hit, and you had the Team Elite running up the ramp, good guys, they're in the ring, and like his music hits, and they're like looking, oh, which way is he going to come from? I'm like, well, he's not going to come from.
He came from upstairs, didn't he?
Yes,
I knew it. You didn't tell me. You didn't explain anything.
I'm like, he's not going to come down the ramp and into a 1-on-5 situation when all his buddies are down in the ring. And so they kept looking for him. Like, he's coming from the roof for sure. Mm-hmm. Because outside of Sting, he's one of the only other people that I think are like, yeah, heck yeah, sign me up. Let's hook me up. Let's go right now.
Yeah.
And yeah, he came down, and then what's his name? Tony Schiavone, instead of his, it's Sting, he goes, it's Darby.
So glad I didn't see that. No, I'm okay with Darby being in it because he has legit beef per storyline with the Bucks because of the whole Sting thing.
There you go. There's your.
See, I'm okay with Swerve because of the Hangman situation. That's fine.
It's okay, but it's not great. Like,
no, none of this is great.
Why are these people all together? Why do they all care?
And why do they? Yeah, why do they care? Why do they care? Swerve is a heel, but he's a babyface. But Swerve is like a sadistic heel, selfish. Yeah. People get cheered him, so he turned kind of. Like, what? So if Team AEW wins, what happens? If Team it's Elite wins, what happens? They already won. They just won the last match. So what happened?
Yeah.
I cannot get invested. Hey, what's going on, Steve? We're just talking trash about blood and guts. What are your thoughts, Steve? In the comments, I need to know because I do not care. Do you guys think Shane McMahon will join AEW? Now that would have been a hell of a debut last night if he would have debuted on AEW and he's the last member of Team AEW and he's on the board now or whatever. I don't know, whatever you want to do. I would love Shane in AEW. I think that would be phenomenal.
His final run in WWE was so bad.
Did he have a
So
run?
cringy. That one where like he came back, he did a few matches, we are all excited to see him, nostalgia, and then he like just left himself inserted into all these main storylines. And we're like, this is too much now.
Oh yeah,
You're making everyone else look bad. It was so bad. And I'm a big Shane fan, but I hated like the last few months of his last run in WWE. It was awful.
Yeah, I would like to see Shane in AEW and see what he can do and see what he does outside of the WWE umbrella. He's a little bit older now. We know the last time we saw him, it was at WrestleMania and he tore his Achilles, I believe, or was it MCL or ACL? I forgot.
Probably.
Whatever it was. And then Snoop Dogg was in the ring. Remember that? You remember that? Snoop Dogg had to go in real quick and punch the Miz in the face and pin him 1, 2, 3.
Yep. Yeah. It was awful.
But that'd be awesome. But hey, what if he gets involved in the AEW situation where it's like AEW versus the Elite? What happens? Right?
It would make it more interesting for sure. So
Jordan in the chat. This is a good one. AEW is all about Mariah. Who agrees? Listen, she's the third best woman there. She's cool. She's third best. She's behind Mercedes and she's behind Britt. But she is number 3. Do you agree with that assessment, or you still have Tony Storm up there?
Talking to me, or are you
talking to you?
Oh.
Talking to you. He thinks.
Oh yeah,
he thinks Mariah's number 1.
Oh yeah, no, it's definitely she's number 3 right now because it is she's number 3, maybe number 2.
Oh, so Mercedes and Mariah.
Britt 1, Mariah 2.
Am I the only Mercedes fan still alive, still like around? Am I the only one that still likes to? Did she do this last night?
Oh gosh, did she do that? Yes, she did do it. So she did it when she came out, and they plugged it in. I forgot to tell you about this. They made it part of a backstage segment. She was talking to the Young Bucks and having a conversation with them, and they asked her, they're like, "Hey, can you do your dance?" She's like, "Oh, you want to see me do my dance?" They're like, yeah. And then she just did it right there to no music, and it was just so awkward. It's the worst thing ever.
It's like the worst. It's the worst gimmick of all time. She's like the opposite Danny Garcia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like she still does her little Sasha slide when she comes out.
Yeah.
That's great. Stick with that. It works for her. It looks smooth. But I hate the dance. Like I said, I've always compared it to a toddler that just learned how to walk, doing their little up and down. It's so bad. I wish she would stop. It makes me like her a little less every time she does it.
Yeah. Same for me. And yes, we believe in Joe Hendry. Chris Koffler was just my boy right here, RTW Chris. He was just introduced to Joe Hendry maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago. I've been introduced to him just about 3 or 4 months ago, so I'm old news on it as well. He's awesome. I can't wait to see big things from him. But guys, we're going to go ahead and get out of here. Thanks for everyone that's just joining in the chat. We are here live every Thursday night, usually talking AEW and WWE. If you missed the WWE portion of it, we talked about Bo Dallas in the front. We talked about Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan up in the front. But mainly, this is a hardcore AEW broadcast. We will be covering Blood and Guts next Thursday night as well. I will be watching that live because even though I don't care about the story, because the story is useless and meaningless, I will be watching Blood and Guts. You know me, Chris. I will be cringing if there's a lot of blood, and I do not like it. So hopefully they chill on that stuff this week.
I mean, you don't have Moxley in the match, so maybe they chill out a little bit with it. I could see a little bit in there, but not too much.
Yep. Steve, we're back next Thursday night. We're here every Thursday night at 7:30. Did I say 8? It is 7:30. If you enjoy fantasy football, you can catch me on Wednesday nights. I do a fantasy football show. And we do an additional wrestling show now. No holds barred. We're there every single Saturday night. Make sure you check the Finns Talk Sports Network. Bobby did have an interview with an indie wrestler. We were going to get interviews with indie wrestlers on that show. He reached out to a guy, the Real Drago. He had 48 minutes with this indie wrestler. I was not there. I was playing Pokemon Go Fest. Bobby, don't think it was a family issue. It was actually Pokemon Go Fest. But I did miss the interview and I have not heard it yet. I'm excited to actually listen to it tomorrow. On No Holds Barred, we covered the entire WCW Who Killed WCW series, and we did a fantasy booking session of if we were to book WCW's last pay-per-view, what would we do? Chris, pop quiz. Who do you think I booked for the main event of that show? I know it's a lot of people, and you probably can't remember all the WCW guys, but who do you think I booked for the main event for the WCW Championship match?
Sting?
He was not in there, but he wrestled in my card.
He was not in the big Sting guy. There's some guy that you used to really love a lot over there, and he's some random guy, and I cannot remember the name of him.
Spoiler: these are big name Hall of Famers. I put a legit Hall of Famers.
Okay, so you actually put. I thought you put like a Josh Special then.
No, I did not do a Josh Special.
I don't know. I would have thought you would have put Sting in there.
I'll spoil it. I put Sting versus Diamond Dallas Page as the Icon versus the People's Champ match, like the dream match. But my main event was Kevin Nash versus Bill Goldberg, a rematch, a redo of this terrible taser match. And we're going to finish it because what my whole thing was, and this is not going to be long, that is how WCW declined in my eyes. I'm not saying it killed WCW, but as soon as Goldberg lost and we saw all this nonsense with the taser and then the finger poke, which it led to the finger poke, that's when I kind of switched over to WWF at the time. So in my pay-per-view, I would do Goldberg versus Kevin Nash, but a clean finish, a real finish, no nonsense, no taser. Let's fix the mistake we made back in the day. Kevin Nash goes over clean. That was my main event. So Go watch that on Saturday nights, No Hold Bars. Guys, we're going to get on out of here. Chris, any last words before we go?
Just as always, looking forward to some more great wrestling.